Welcome back to Light Talk, where the paranormal and the supernatural is a part of our everyday lives. We have an awesome guest today. I'm so excited. It's a little on the offside of what we normally talk about, but I think this is going to be an awesome show. So be prepared to get some wild information. So let's go ahead and get started. So, welcome to the show. Go ahead and then introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, Dana. Thanks for having me. My name's Rob Gutro. I'm a medium, paranormal investigator, an author of 14 true paranormal books based on my experiences as a medium. Also, I kind of I call myself a pet medium because I like to communicate with pets more than I like to communicate with some people. Um, so I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for about 20 years, since 2005. Um, and I have four series of books. One, of course, is Pets in the Afterlife, where you can see them behind me, where I teach people how their pets communicate from the other side. And that means domesticated pets, because wild animals cannot communicate with people from the other side, just like they cannot communicate with people when they're alive. Um, so the other three series of books I have are Ghosts on a Medium's Vacation. It's about places I've gone on vacation, like Ireland, England, and the Birdcage Theater in Tombstone, Arizona, which is very haunted. So I have books on those. Another series is called The Haunting of, and that's where I've gone to two different places. Right now, there's two books in the series. There's five more in the queue. Um, and I go with my co-investigator Monique Toussoun, who is she's a tech whiz. She's been doing this 15 years, and she's also a drag queen who does paranormal in drag, and she gets a lot of response because of that. Um, and my fourth and final series is about ghosts versus spirits, and we can talk about that. Ghosts are earthbound, spirits who've crossed over. So that one has paranormal investigations. That one also talks about spirits of our loved ones, like your grandparents that may have visited you, and so forth. So those are my four series, and that's what I do.
That is so awesome. That's so awesome. So, how did you get started in all of this?
Well, I have to go all the way back to when I was a kid. Um, when I was a teenager, I was about 13 years old, and I received a very big shock because my grandfather appeared to me in full color 7 months after he died. So I was home alone with our family dog at the time, a little poodle. My parents were out, my brothers were out. I was by myself with the dog. And two rooms away, I saw my grandfather come together as light, and he stood there in full color. And I did not give him a chance to say one word because I grabbed the dog and I ran outside. So, uh, my long story short, my mother wound up telling me when I told her this. My mother told me she had the ability. She didn't use it because she was afraid. Um, she understood though. Her dad had the ability also, the one that appeared to me. And I shelved it for a long time until I had a puppy who passed away in 2005. He was tragically killed by a car, and his name was Buzz. And up here, if you look behind me, Buzz is over here. He is a Weimaraner puppy. He was tragically killed by a car at 7 months old. Um, and he came through to me in many ways, reawakened my abilities, taught me how pets communicate from the afterlife, which became the impetus for my first book.
Wonderful. How did you feel when you saw him for the first time? I mean, you saw your grandpa and then you're seeing your dog. So, was there a difference in that feel?
Um, so my grandfather and I never had a close relationship, which was which was interesting because so he hated kids. So and he died when I was a kid. Um, so and again, I gave him like 3 seconds after I saw him before I ran out the door. And he's never come back, and he won't. So if anybody has a visit from a loved one in spirit, um, and they scare you, they will not come back. Um, as for Buzz, I only saw him once, but I feel him all the time. I mean, he's given me signs, physical signs, noises. He's led me to another dog that looked like him one time, and visibly, I've only seen him once.
Okay. And that you felt much better and not scared of him. I take
No,
it.
not scared of him. Yeah, not scared of him at all. Um, so yeah, I was missing him, instantly, of course, and I wanted to know if he was okay, and he let me know right away that he was okay.
Nice. Nice. So kind of go through your book. So the first series you have it with the pets and their afterlife. So can you kind of go through the series there and how they kind of came about and a little of what they're about?
Sure. Pets in the Afterlife one, the one with Buzz on the cover over there, um, is really it gives people the basics. So I should tell you that I am a scientist by trade. I'm a meteorologist. So for me, as a scientist, it's important for me to explain the paranormal using science. So I use the science of energy, and that's how I explain what happens after we die. Um, and what actually happens, just to clarify, is that the energy within us couples with our memories and our personality and the knowledge of this life that we lived, and that becomes a soul. That's really a soul, if you will. Every living thing has a soul. After we die, we can choose one of two places to go. One is to cross over, and that you can call it heaven or paradise or Valhalla, whatever you want to call it. That's where most people and 99.5% of all pets go. Or you can choose to be earthbound at a fixed location that you're familiar with or where you died. And that's what I call a ghost. They're both a soul, basically, but they're in two different places. Spirits, on the other hand, can communicate with us anywhere in the world at any time. Ghosts are only limited to communicate with us in that fixed location they chose. So that also became the foundation of my first book, Ghost versus Spirit. Um, and in the first Pets book, I explained that, but I also explained about the types of energy they use to get strong enough to communicate. I also explained scientifically how they learn on different levels, um, like behavioral learning, instinctual learning, um, socialization, routine, all kinds of things. So that's in there too, because you have to understand how pets communicate. Number one, when they're alive, and number two, how they work. And number three, then I get into the different ways that they communicate.
Okay. And I'm just going to say real quick, you kind of cut out on number two there. So can you repeat number two?
So and number two was they the way they lived in life is the way that they're going to communicate from the afterlife. So, for instance, if they used to like to turn their bowls over if they were eating, you may see a bowl in the kitchen turn over. Um, if they like to scratch on the door after they pass, you will hear scratching on the door, maybe. So, however they behaved in life, they will behave from the afterlife to give you a sign to let you know they're okay.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Um, yeah. So you have the ghost and the spirit.
Hmm.
So when my first pet passed, I was able to get a picture with my new pup with the orb of my past dog.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's how does that relates. I mean, there's some communication I felt between my past pup and my current pup. How does that relate with what you're doing?
So one of the things that I've learned is that when our pets pass, number one, they will lead us to the next pet that they want us to adopt. Number two, they will come back in spirit and they will train our new dog or cat to do something that they used to do in life, so that we will recognize that they visit in spirit. So that's why you capture that. Your dog was coming back in spirit to teach your new dog something that they used to do.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool. She stayed with us for about probably 30 to 45 seconds or so.
Yeah, wow.
It was really cool.
The other thing they do too, I found, is that they also recognize our emotional energy. I mean, they know when you're happy, when you're sad, when you're angry at them. They go in another room. Um,
Yeah.
so they will show up on birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays, just like people do. Birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays, because those are the times that our emotions are high, and those are the times that they know we miss them a lot. So those are the times that we need to look for signs from them.
Yeah. So a sign from the past, the pet that's passed, when we are calling our current pet
Hmm.
by the past dog's name or the past pet's name,
Hmm.
is that them coming through?
Yeah, it could be because they will influence you to feel that they're around. So you may accidentally call them by the dog and spirit's name.
Yeah, we do that often.
They will, and they one of the other ways that they like to let you know that they're around is that they will lead you to another dog that looks like them. And that happened with Buzz, the Weimaraner up there. In 2009, he passed in 2005. And in 2009, my husband and I went on vacation. We went to Puerto Rico for the first time. And we were walking around and not thinking about, you know, anything other than, hey, we're in Old San Juan. We're enjoying Puerto Rico for the first time. And we came to a five street intersection, and we had to choose to where we were going, and we didn't have a map at all. So um, so he said, which way do you want to go? So I said, oh, I don't know, we'll take the third street. I just felt we had to take that street for some reason. And I didn't know why until we got to the end of the street. When we got to the end of the street, there was a dog, and that dog walker was walking five dogs, and one of them was a Weimaraner that looked exactly like Buzz.
Oh,
And I heard in my head, Dad, it's today. And I thought, what's today? So I asked Tom what today was, and he said it's February 22nd. February 22nd was the day Buzz passed 4 years before. So he appeared, he led me to another dog that looks like him on the anniversary of his passing.
so now he's just saying, "Hey, I'm okay. I'm good. And I know you're thinking of me. I'm thinking of you. And
Hmm.
here we are."
Yeah.
Oh,
So on the anniversary of their
sweet.
passing, their birthday, your birthday, any day like that are the times that they will show up.
I'll definitely pay more attention to that because we do call our dog her name all the time.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Wait, wrong dog. Wait. Hold back. Yeah, yeah. I when we had to put our first dog, Hope, down, I made a promise to her that I would never have another dog as my baby girl.
Okay.
And so when we got our next one, I had to name her something different. So she's my big girl.
Okay. All right.
And sometimes sometimes I call her little girl. I'm like, I'm
They
big
don't
girl.
mind. They don't mind because what it means is that you're thinking of them, and because their energy, and thoughts are energy, and sound, words are energy. They can pick up on it. So they hear us when we're talking about them or whenever we're thinking about them. And that's love. It's
Yeah,
all good.
yeah. Well, we do miss her. We talk about her all the time. So, and I'm sure she, like you say, hears us and all of that. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Yep.
awesome. So we're
So,
going to
so
continue with your books. All right. More of your books.
okay. I can talk about some of the some of the Ghost on Vacation books are to me they're really interesting and they're fun. If you're ever planning a trip, um, people have used them. A lot of people use them actually as tour guides. They want to go to places that are haunted. So if you like history and you like hauntings and you want both whenever you travel, look them up. One is Ghosts of England on a Medium's Vacation. That's the one that's behind me over, where is it? Over there. The other way. I can't, I'm looking at myself backwards, so it's hard to know where I am. Um,
Yep.
so so Ghosts of England, I just published Ghosts of Ireland on a Medium's Vacation 2 years ago. I went all throughout Ireland, all around the island, and we went to all different counties. Um, so it's in order by county. So for anybody who's traveling, it makes it nice and easy. There's always a short history, like a couple of paragraphs about the history of the place. And just so you know, when I was vacationing there, I purposely did not want to know the history until after I left the place, after I visited the place, because that would influence anything that happened. And the caveat was, uh, I didn't even go to these places looking for ghosts. I went just to go on vacation, and it was the ghosts that came out to talk to me. And then I wound up proving the identities of a lot of these dead people from hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
Wow. So anybody that's well known or just people that are hanging out?
Oh no, there's there are quite a few that that were pretty well known. Mary Queen of Scots, she was not nice. One of the highlights in my Ghost of England book was another totally unexpected thing. We went to Hever Castle. Have you ever been to England, first of all?
No,
Okay, you
no.
need to go. England is spectacular. Um, I I had never been, and so Tom has always loved the Tudor period of Henry VIII and that time period, and I knew nothing about it. That's his thing. So he wanted to go to England and see all these Tudor era castles and churches and stuff like that. And I said, okay, great. I've never been to England. I'd love to go. So he put the trip together with a tour travel agent called Across the Pond Vacations. They do great England tours, and um, so I just went along. I didn't even know where we were going every day, and that's the way to do it. You know, that's the way to do it. Let somebody else
There you
book
go.
it. Somebody else take care of everything, and you just go. Um, so I remember the very first ghost I encountered. We got to England. We stayed in a hotel. It was a couple of blocks away from Big Ben, Parliament, and we were walking past Big Ben and toward Westminster Abbey. And I happened to look to the side, and there was this big tower, just a tower by itself. It turned out that was the last remaining tower. It was called the Jewel Tower of the last remaining tower standing of what used to be Whitehall Palace. Whitehall Palace turned out to be the biggest palace in London that Henry VIII had. And when I looked over, at the entryway to this jewel tower, which is now a tourist place that people can go in and tour. And I didn't know what that was. I didn't know anything about it. Um, there was a woman walking outside, and she had this long gown and big puffy shoulders and so forth. And I turned to Tom and I said, "Wow, look at that! They have someone in period costume that is like probably getting trying to get tourists in." And he said to me, "There's nobody there." I'm like, "What?" So I looked again, and she was gone. She was right in the middle of this grassy area. So I immediately sketched her out because when I see ghosts, which is rare, I see them in my mind though, also. I sketch them out. When I came home, I looked up dresses from the 15th and 16th centuries. Sure enough, there was one that matched what I had drawn, and I was blown away. So that
Wow.
was my very first ghost in England. So, um, but we went on to Westminster Abbey, and gosh, is that place haunted? Westminster Abbey has a lot of dead people walking around. Um, and actually that was a really fascinating place too. Um, that is where all the kings were coronated. That's where they were all crowned in Westminster Abbey. And when we went in there, we were walking around. First of all, there was a monk who was a ghost. He was walking around in there, and I saw him, and I'm like, okay, you stay over there. I'm busy. I'm reading stuff. Um, so Tom, who had never been sensitive, was over near a king's tomb. I don't remember the name of the king. It's in the book. So he started to feel like nauseous. And he said to me that um he smelled something that smelled like a rotting corpse.
Oh,
And and that was the awakening of his ability to be sensitive.
wow.
Now, when we were in England and Ireland, he maintained that sensitivity. But over the last couple of years, he's turned it off. He's like, I'm not doing this. Um, and I don't blame him. I mean, I get headaches, or I can see them, or I can feel them, or smell them, or whatever, and he smells a rotting corpse, and I'm like, I wouldn't want that, you know.
Right. Right.
Um,
I'm with him on that one. No way.
yeah, it's just pretty gross. So, it,
Right.
it, one of the highlights in Westminster Abbey was that Westminster Abbey also has a number of tombs. There are a lot of famous people buried in Westminster Abbey. I think Charles Dickens is buried in Westminster Abbey, for instance. The Christmas Carol. Um, but there was one tomb of one of Henry VIII's wives, Anne of Cleves. I think she was. I can't remember what number she was. Um, out of his six wives. Um, anyway, we stood in front of the tomb of Anne of Cleves, and we were about maybe 15 feet apart, 20 feet apart, and we were both looking directly at the tomb. While we were looking at the tomb, somebody pulled my hair on this side, and Tom was over there, and somebody pulled his hair on the other side. So we were standing here and here. They pulled my hair here. They pulled his hair here. And it's like somebody had a reach of 15 feet and pulled our hair at the very same time. And I knew it was her because that's who we were looking at. Um,
Wow.
because he turned to me and he said, was that you? And I said, I'm 15 feet away from you. No. And I said, did you just pull my hair? And he said, no. And he said, that's what happened to me. So that was really weird.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so Westminster Abbey is incredibly haunted. Those are just two small incidents, but it, if you go to the Tower of London, the Tower of London used to be a castle, and then it was a prison. There's a church in there where the body parts of Anne Boleyn are. Well, not really, because when Henry VIII, after Henry VIII beheaded her, he hated her so much that he put her body in quicklime so it would dissolve. He was a ruthless guy. Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot of sorrow um, in that church. Um, but we ran into other ghosts as well. So Ghosts of England is one of my favorite books that I wrote, and I really urge people, even if you're not going to go to England, pick it up because there's ghosts everywhere. Um, in the Tower of London, I remember we were walking into what's called the Salt Tower. There are a lot of towers um, in the Tower of London. It's kind of a misnomer. Um, and, yeah, it's kind of crazy. So at every corner, there's a tower. There's a rounded tower where you go in. And in one particular tower, I remember it's called the Salt Tower. Um, I went to reach for the door, this big wooden door,
Mhm.
from the 15th century or 16th century. And I reached for the door and I opened it, and the whole entryway I was walking through, it was like everything was vibrating. And I heard a humming, a loud humming. And I'm like, what in the world is that? And he heard it behind me. Tom heard it behind me. And he's like, it sounds like something like a loud generator is humming. And as soon as I walked through the door, it stopped. I'm like, what? And we looked around the room. There's only one bare light bulb in the middle, nothing electric, nothing at all.
Wow.
And what we came to find out is that that is a portal. Are
I
you
was going to
familiar with
say that.
portals? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I come to understand that portals are energy doorways that are created by ghosts, earthbound ghosts, so they can go from one part of a structure to another part of the structure. So just as I was coming in, a ghost was going out. But
Okay.
to to hear that humming, it was so freaky, and he heard it too. And he was right behind me. So I have a witness. It's like
Right.
I'm not losing my mind. Uh, so those were, yeah. So those are some of the highlights. And I, I can share one more story with you about the Ghost of England if you want. Um,
Absolutely.
okay, this was really cool.
Absolutely.
I just love the Ghost of England. That book I think is truly one of my favorites. So we went to a place called Hever Castle. Have you ever heard of Hever Castle?
No.
Okay,
Uh-uh.
so so Hever Castle is it's outside of London, and I didn't know anything about it either. I like I said, I didn't plan the trip. I didn't know any of the history. I was just along for the ride and to enjoy it.
Right.
So we walked through. They have this giant wooden door. It's like the width of three people that you walk through. And as soon as we walked in, we got our tickets for entrance, and we were standing in the hallway, and we were waiting to be able to start touring. They only allow a certain number of people at a certain time. So if it's like a group of 20, can you go around and tour yourself? Um, but they have to, they have to wait for a number of people to go through so that you clear the way. Anyway,
Right.
so while we were waiting, I was standing there against this tapestry, against a wall, and I heard this man in Old English. He said, "Hello, my name is George. Welcome." And I'm like, so I looked, like, there was nobody there. And I thought, okay, hello, George. So I turned to Tom and I said, "Hey, would you happen to know who George would be? That lived here, maybe?" And he looked at me like I had two heads on my shoulder, and he said, "Well, of course. This is because he knows Tudor history. I don't know it." So he said, "This is the Boleyn family home. That would be George Boleyn. That's Anne Boleyn's brother."
Oh,
And
wow.
Anne Boleyn, um, Queen Anne Boleyn, was beheaded by Henry VIII. Henry VIII also, at the same time, beheaded her brother because, in order for him to get divorced from Anne Boleyn for not giving him a male heir, that's why he divorced them all. Um, he accused Anne Boleyn of having inappropriate relations with her own brother. So he had to make something up. So he beheaded George Boleyn, and then he beheaded Anne Boleyn. And so George decided to spend his afterlife in Hever Castle because he wanted to prove to everybody that he did not do what he was accused of. That's why he was there. Um, so here's the fascinating part of all this, Dana. Not only did I run into him, and I saw him, so I sketched him out of the book. Um, but he walked through the castle with us, and he took us into different rooms, and he told us things that happened in each room. And I wrote all these things down because I carry a diary book, a journal. And when I got home, I looked every one of them up, and they were all true, including the year he gave me that he said he was most proud of his sister. And I didn't even know when they lived, really, other than the 1500s. He gave me the year, and I looked it up when I got home. I said, "What happened with Anne Boleyn in this year?" And it said that was the year that she got her first official royal title. That's why he was most proud of her. And I was like gasped.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we got a private tour of Hever Castle by George Boleyn, the ghost of George Boleyn. So there's so many other things in the Ghosts of England book. Everybody should read it because it's really fascinating.
It'll be my next one to get.
So I sent you I sent you the Pets one book, but I also sent you an excerpt of the Ghosts of Ireland on the Medium's Vacation.
Awesome.
So
Yep.
that'll give you a little taste of it. I think there's a couple of chapters in that excerpt. And One of them was something that I called the Castle of the Smoky Ghosts. And this was in Ireland. It was the Rock of Cashel. So
Okay.
so have you been to Ireland?
I have been through the Bahamas down to Jamaica, as far
Okay.
down as Jamaica, but I haven't been
You been to Europe?
overseas. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you need to plan a trip.
We are. My husband wants to get to Germany, so I
Okay.
would like to visit um, Iceland and Ireland. So
Okay.
those are on our list. So
Oh, good. Well, hopefully when you read the excerpt from The Ghost of Ireland, you'll want to, read more because that book is organized by county. So when we went from different counties, and it's organized in alphabetical order by county. So it'll be really easy to find any haunted place in any county that you go to in Ireland. Um, but when we went to the Rock of Cashel, it was built as a fortress, and it looks like a giant palace on the top of a hill. Um, and uh, um, I didn't know anything about it. There's it's a fortress. There's a church. There's a big church in there that doesn't have a roof anymore. Um, and I, I didn't know any of the history, but we were walking through, um, and there was one room that you could go in. It was fully restored, and it looked like there was a small. And when I walked in there, I smelled smoke. I'm like, what in the world? It's it smells like something is like raging on fire. And my eyes started to burn. And I'm like, is there smoke in here? And Tom said, no, there's no smoke in here. And then
right.
I started seeing different ghosts, men walking around in the room. and they were panicked. They were all panicked, and I thought, what in the world happened in here? Um, and why this room out of the entire castle? So um, I didn't, of course, I didn't find out until I went home after vacation, came back. I was going through my notes, and I said, "Oh, there was intense smoke in this particular part of the Rock of Cashel. I wonder what this was about." It turned out that the uh, the the opposing force, the opposing army, there was an army that wanted to take over that part of Ireland. The guy that was leading it, he was a vicious killer. And I can't remember his name because I don't have the book in front of me. Um, but what he did is he had his soldiers take hay and peat and pile it up against the walls of the Rock of Cashel, and they lit it on fire. And it got so hot and so smoky in the castle that there were men in this particular room that died of smoke inhalation from that. And these were the ghosts that I encountered. Um, and that just freaked me out when I got home and I found all of this history out. So that's the kind of stuff that you'll read about in The Ghosts of Ireland on a medium's vacation. Yeah.
I've had
Um,
that too, the smell of smoke. I was smelling it for like what, 2 months or something like that. Just this cigarette smell. And I was one time I took a breath and my throat burned like I just took a puff, and I don't smoke.
mhm.
And my head started hurting like it does when I'm around cigarettes. It's like, oh man. And I
Gosh.
finally got, okay, I had enough of this. Enough. I don't care if you're around me, but give me something different besides this smoke because I can't take the smoke anymore. And so then I started smelling waffles with maple syrup.
That's better.
Yeah, I go, thank
I'll
you. That's much better. I can take that one.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
And what did that all mean?
I believe it was either my mom or my uncle, my mom's
Okay.
brother. Either one of them, because they both smoked. And I always, since as far back as I can remember, we always messed with my mom because we didn't want her smoking. So we'd always put out her cigarettes, or we'd put out her matches or soak her cigarettes or something. We'd always do something. So I think it was probably her getting back at me saying, "Ha."
Oh,
And I'm like, okay, I smelled you long enough. Now you need to be done. I mean, you're out, you're done. Something
okay.
different. And then my mom was diabetic. And so that's where I think it was her, because then she gave me this sweet stuff because she always ate her sweets, even though she wasn't supposed to. So I think it was her.
Okay. It, so yeah, so that's one of the ways that spirits will communicate too is by scent. So between the smoke and the sweets, I'd rather smell the sweets personally.
Oh, definitely. I
Yeah.
couldn't take the smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those that's interesting. But the smoky ghosts are in that Rock of Cashel up in Ireland. And I also went to Blarney Castle, by the way. Blarney Castle is the home of the Blarney Stone. People like to go kiss the Blarney Stone. Did you know that
Okay.
the Blarney Stone does not give you knowledge or personality? It actually the myth is that it gives you the gift of gab. That's what it gives you if you kiss it.
Okay.
Um, and in order to kiss the Blarney Stone, it's part of um, a wall up on the highest level of Blarney Castle. And in order to kiss the Blarney Stone, you have to get on your back and you have to be slid out over 400 feet to kiss the Blarney Stone, which is kind of on the outside of the castle wall. Um, and I said no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, me neither.
No,
No way.
but but people would do that. And the other thing about Blarney Castle that was interesting, Blarney Castle really wasn't haunted. There was a lot of residual energy there. There's a lot of emotional energy imprints in there because they had to defend the castle in different times. And um, but in order to get up to the top level, which was like 4 stories or whatever, or no, it was more than that. I think it was like 8 stories. Um, you have to go up winding staircases, and
Yeah.
it's really the stairs are very tricky and they're very narrow. Um, and what I thought was unfortunate was that when we were there, from a tourist perspective, they were busing in people who were like senior citizens who were using walkers and canes. And I thought these people will never be able to get up to the top of that.
No.
Them here. So I just thought that was kind of crazy. But there is a nice garden around there. But and there's they of course there's no elevators or anything that can take
Mhm.
people up to the top floor because those castles served as they were built, and a lot of them are in ruins like Blarney Castle. um, so it's unfortunate that people who are have physical limitations can't get up to the top of Blarney Castle. So, so for anyone listening, if you're going to Ireland, you want to go see the Blarney Stone. If you're not able to climb up like 8 flights of stairs, you're probably not going to be able to get up there to see it. Um,
And it's probably a one way up and one way down, huh?
that's correct. That's
Oh,
correct.
that's
And
like the Statue of Liberty. That's the same way, very narrow steps,
yeah,
and
no,
all you're
no
seeing
thanks.
on, yeah, me too. Me too. I have this fear of heights, and I go up to the top of this thing, and I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Beautiful once I was up there looking out. It was beautiful,
Mhm.
but coming back down, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die.
Yeah, I have a fear of heights too, and um, the other thing too is so is your husband afraid of heights?
No,
No. Okay,
no.
so my husband's not afraid of heights either. So whenever we travel, he makes sure that we go to the highest point of any structure so that he can get a good view of the city. So I'm
I'm
like,
like, see
okay,
you later.
right, right. Yeah, we went to York, England, and he said we have to go into York Minster, which is the big cathedral. And he said, "Oh, they have tours that will take you all the way up to the top to the roof, and you can look down." And he wanted to see it, and I was shaking in my boots, and I followed him, but I was like hugging the wall.
Yeah,
And he's like, "Come over and look, look down." And I'm like, "Nope, I'll take your
thank
word
you.
for it. Looks good." I said, "You take a picture and you can show it to me later."
That's right.
Not gonna not gonna do it.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah. So
Yeah, I
anyway,
have a
England
hard
and
time.
Ireland. Fun.
Go ahead.
You have a hard time with the heights.
Yeah, I have a hard time on the second floor. So if I
Oh,
am up like on top of our roof, which is just the single up, I can get up, but I can't get down.
oh, jeez. Okay.
Yeah. So he gets up on the ladders and puts up like the lights and everything for Christmas. And I'm like, oh,
I just don't like
okay.
extreme heights.
Mhm.
Driving over bridges are not a
No,
fan. So yeah.
not a fan. Mm-mm. No, no, no.
Um, but and when I go on these paranormal investigations, fortunately, there's no heights really involved. Just first or second floor of something, whether they be private homes or historic mansions and so forth. Like on December 20th, I'm going to be one of the investigators going to the S.K. Pierce Victorian Haunted Mansion in Gardner, Massachusetts, and with my partner Monique Too Soon. And I've been on several investigations with her. She is an amazing technology nerd and paranormal investigator, and she's also a drag queen. Um, she dresses in drag to do paranormal investigations. She got this idea back in doing COVID because she couldn't perform, and she was a paranormal investigator for 15 years before that. And it generates so much activity because the ghosts don't know who or what she is. So, um, and it's been fascinating. I've been on 5 investigations with her. Uh, the paranormal investigation is through I mean, the activity rather is through the roof with her. Um, and we went to Emory Estate in Weymouth, Massachusetts. It's called The Haunting of Emory Estate. That's the book that came out earlier this year. Um, we ran into 3 ghosts, a little boy, a lovelorn man attached to a mirror um, that his bride used to use, and a very angry, controlling, nasty, religious ghost um, who prevented us from doing some things to help others. Um,
Oh,
so that's the haunting of Emory Estate. That's a real, if you want to figure out what a paranormal investigation is like, in 5 hours, we encountered these 3 ghosts, figured out who they were, what they were all about. And, and one of them, and the nasty one affected a living person on the investigation too. So, it's really a interesting read. And I sketched 2 of the 3 out so you can see what they look like.
oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
and my new book is coming out January 1st, which is also another collaboration with Monique Too Soon. It's called Haunting of Hunt Memorial Library, and that was in Nashua, New Hampshire. It's a former library, now an event space. And we had our book signing there this past January, for Emory Estate. We did a paranormal investigation where we invited members of the public, like 20 members of the public. They came along. We encountered ghosts there. We had to cross 2 of them over. Um, all kinds of crazy stuff happened there. That book is coming out January 1, Haunting of Hunt Memorial Library. So all
I
kinds
could
of
have a
things in
whole
the works.
library for I could have a whole library with your books, man.
I
It's like,
know. I know. Well, you can get them on Kindle. That way you don't have to have them, take up space. But and on Kindle, you can also see all the pictures. All of my books have pictures in every chapter. I want people to be able to visualize where we are and what the ghosts look like. So all of the chapters are short to the point, and they have pictures. So that's because that's what I like when I'm reading a book about a place. I want to see what it looks like.
so do you have, are these pictures like actual pictures that you've taken that are showing the ghost? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
they're actual
Okay.
pictures of the location. So I've only been able to capture ghosts on camera just a couple of times. Um, at the Birdcage Theater, as a matter of fact. Here. Um, by the way, that's me dressed up as Wyatt Earp outside the Birdcage Theater when I went in 1994 for the first time. When my abilities weren't in working, they weren't working. I went there after seeing the movie Tombstone because I was enamored with Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday. Did you ever see the movie Tombstone?
No,
Oh,
no.
gosh, wait,
I've
well,
been
you
a
have to.
Disney. I've been a Disney person. I watch all like the Disneys and the
Okay.
Hallmark type stuff.
All right, let it go, let it go, let it go. I'm just kidding. Um, so I grew up in Boston, the Boston area, and for some reason, as a kid, I've always been enamored with cowboys. Boston is the farthest thing from cowboys that you will ever be, right? City of Boston. And I couldn't understand it, but I was. So when the movie Tombstone came out in 1993, something seemed really odd and familiar to me.
Wow.
And um, this is another aspect in my books that I talk about, the Ghosts and Spirits series. and particularly the Birdcage Theater book, the Ghosts of England book, because my husband had a past life experience, the Ghosts of Ireland book, because my husband had a past life experience that proved true, and we found the house, the style house that he used to live in back in the 1500s in Ireland. That's another story. But Birdcage Theater, I can give you um, uh, a quick story. I know we're running out of time, but um, so if you're ever drawn to a place that feels that you don't understand why in a time period that you don't understand why, chances are that you live there. And then, is there anything like that that you have ever been attracted to over time and place?
Oddly enough, yes.
Okay.
I have always loved watching Little House on the Prairie. I still love the movies, or the shows. And recently, I forget how I found out, but recently I found out that I was Laura Ingalls, the main character. And my one of my friends I currently have that I have known pretty much all my life, she was Nellie in the show,
Hmm.
which was that them two collided all the time. They were hilarious together in the show. But yes,
So these were real people that this was written about because I didn't see the show.
yes. Laura Ingalls actually wrote the books. She's got
Okay.
books out there about her life, and the shows were actually about those stories.
Those
Although
characters. Okay.
the characters were different. Like Mrs. Olson, she was actually a very kind, loving person in real life.
Hmm.
But in the show, she's like this nasty, mean person, gossiper, and all of this other stuff. Yeah.
Interesting. So you were drawn back then. Okay.
I
Um,
also had, sorry, I also had a past life, real fast past life regression kind of thing. And
yeah.
I did, I was a male at that point,
Hmm.
and I bought a gun, a rifle, and I walked out of town. And next thing I knew, I was hanging from a tree, and I can see, like, just like in Little House on the Prairie, just like on their property, it was that a tree like this, and then it was like this, and all rounded and beautiful tree. I was in that, and I was looking out into the prairie out in front of me, and I can hear all the guys back behind me just talking. I don't understand what they were talking about. And then next thing I knew, I was feeling my head falling down, and that's when I was hung. But yeah, so it was all in that era.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Hmm.
Wow. Well, a similar thing happened to me when I went to Tombstone for the very first time. Um, and after that movie, I became very enamored with Wyatt Earp, and I wanted to know more about him. And
Hmm.
it turns out that I got the answer when I got there because the day I got there in 1994, now remember, this is before the internet, this is before cell phones. You couldn't get a map of anything. All you could get was a large fold-up map of the state of Arizona. It was huge, and Tombstone was one tiny little dot on the bottom, and that was it. That's all the information I had. Um, so uh, uh, we drove to the town. Um, I convinced a friend of mine, by the way, this is kind of fun. Um, to dress up as Doc Holliday, and I dressed up as Wyatt Earp. And that's the way we wanted to see the town, just to do something fun as a vacation. And when we came into the town, we parked at the very end of the main street. And there's a parking lot, and it's right next to the Birdcage Theater. And we started walking into the town. We were no further than 20 feet into the town, right in front of the Birdcage Theater there. And somebody came up to us and stopped us. It was a tourist. And he said, "Hey, can you tell me where the historic courthouse is?" And I looked at him and I said, "Yeah, sure. It's 2 blocks down. Take a left, go 2 blocks, take a right, and it's on your left-hand side." I'd never been there before. And my friend looked at me and he said, what the heck did you just tell that guy? And I had no idea what I told him. And so I couldn't figure it out. So my friend says, okay, we're gonna follow your directions and we're gonna see what's there. We follow the house was exactly where I said it was. No way I could have known that. I've because I didn't even have a map. I mean, there was no internet, there was nothing. So that proved to me years and years later, when I finally came to my senses, like 20 years later, I realized I had to live at that time in the 1880s to be able to know where those buildings were located, that building was located. I did a past life regression. I found out I was a silver miner and I had a hound dog and I lived in a wooden shack in Tombstone at that time. So I was like a nobody. Um, but that explains my affinity for dogs too, because I am a big dog dad. Um, but that was mind blowing. And that's just one small chapter in the book, but the other chapters are filled with the 11 ghosts that I met in the Birdcage Theater, including 2 photographs of faces of ghosts that I proved who they are. So, yeah. So Ghosts of the Birdcage Theater, people need to pick that up because, and there are a couple of sketches. Ghosts shared their pain of deaths. I was shot a couple of times when I was in there. Not good feeling. Um, and the tour guide asked me if I was okay because I fell against the wall when I was in there, and I told her what happened, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, that guy actually was shot right here." So yeah,
Oh,
so yeah,
wow.
so Ghost of the Birdcage Theater on a Medium's Vacation. It's a short book. It's really cool. It has a bunch of sketches and all kinds of stuff in there. So that's another one of my favorite ones.
Okay. All right. Chalk up another one.
Yeah.
I
So I think I bent your ear a lot tonight.
love it. I love it. I went on my first ghost tour just in this past July, and it was kind of interesting. I did get a couple pictures of entities. One was in a mirror, and another one wasn't quite sure for a long time. And then I asked a friend of mine about the picture, and he's like, "Yeah, that's an entity." But it was all like green light, and there was no green lights in any of the places that we had. But I have green lights in some of my pictures.
Wow.
And I know we had the EMFs, so there was a green light on that, but not like this. Green, it wasn't even near that. And I was still getting pictures of these almost like the Northern Lights, kind of. It's like kind of spread out along the full picture. I'll have to send one to you. But yeah, it was really wow. It was
It was
like,
mind blowing. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. And yeah, I was hoping to feel something during it, but I didn't feel anything. I just had some pictures. But yeah, it was
Well,
really cool. Really
that's
cool.
that pretty cool evidence right there. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so oh my goodness. I know you have more stories.
oh, I have lots of stories. Yeah.
I know you have more stories. So if you would be willing to come back, I would appreciate that. That would be so much fun.
Oh, I'd be honored to join you again. Yeah, I haven't even talked about paranormal investigations that I've done. So,
Yeah, we've
uh,
got lots to talk about. So
but the mediums Ghost on a Medium's Vacation book series is one of my favorite because it's history and hauntings, and you'll not only read about ghosts, but you'll learn a lot of history as well. And chapters are short, and like I said, they're pictures, so it's an easy read.
yeah, well, awesome. Awesome. Well, for everybody out there listening, I will put his information in the notes below and where we can find his books so that you can check them out also. And if you have any stories you would like to share, let me know. Email me at lighttalk423 at gmail.com and we'll get connected. So thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. And we'll get back in touch.
Sounds good. Thank you, Dana.
All right. Take care,
Bye bye.
everyone. Till next time. Bye.